Okay, so firstly, measures of dispersion. Now, in measures of dispersion, we have major major 4 points. First one is range. Then you have quartile deviation, which is also known as QD. Then you have mean deviation, which is also known as MD, M dot D, and then standard deviation, which is S dot D, or it is denoted by this symbol, sigma symbol. Okay, now in measures of dispersion, the first one is range. Now range is very easy to calculate. You just have to find the lowest value, largest value in the series, and then the smallest value in the series. Now once you subtract largest value and smallest value, you will get the range value. Now for every dispersion measure, okay, for every dispersion measure, there are two types of measures that you will get. Okay, first one is absolute measure, the second one is relative measure. Now what is absolute measure? Absolute measure is that which is very particular in nature. Okay, now when we are talking about products, let's say for example, number of units, one box contains 100 units of chocolates. Okay, one box contains 5 units of soap. So that is absolute. It is very clear and specific as to what it is required and what we are calculating. Coming to relative measure is nothing but ratio form. Okay, we are giving it in the ratio form. So we do a comparison here and say, okay, when compared to this, the other product is 30% more, 20% more, 10% less. All that when we say, it comes in a ratio form. Now that ratio, this relative format, wherever you see, in all relative formats, we will be calculating coefficients. So every measure of dispersion has a coefficient to be calculated. Everywhere you see, you will have a coefficient to be calculated. Okay, so a range, the largest number minus smallest number is range, and then relative measure of range is coefficient of range, that is L minus S divided by L plus S. Okay, so that is the first measure of dispersion. Very easiest measure of dispersion, very easy to calculate, simple to understand also. But the only demerit is it will only consider the two extremes and not all the numbers. So it only considers the largest and the smallest number, but it doesn't consider the other numbers in between. Okay, so that is range. Next, going on to the next measure, that is quartile deviation. Now in quartile deviation, we have first interquartile range. Okay, now since we came up with range, just a small continuation of that is interquartile range. Now here we are supposed to calculate the difference between Q3 and Q1. So quartile 3 and quartile 1, you're supposed to find the difference with. That is interquartile range. Then actual calculation of quartile deviation is the average of Q3 and Q1. Now why do I say average? Because we take Q3 minus Q1 divided by 2. Okay, so this is quartile deviation. Then this is an absolute measure. Quartile deviation is an absolute measure. Its relative measure is coefficient of quartile deviation. So the formula for coefficient of quartile deviation is Q3 minus Q1 divided by Q3 plus Q1. Okay, so this is the first measure of dispersion, range. The second measure of dispersion is quartile deviation. In this, you have to be careful in solving Q3 and Q1, because you will have individual series, you will have discrete series, and you will have continuous series. Now to calculate Q1 in individual series, you will just have to take n plus 1 by 4. And for Q3, you will have to take 3 into n plus 1 by 4. That is for individual series. Then when it comes to discrete series, you will still go on with the same formula. That is Q1 is equal to n plus 1 by 4th term, size of n plus 1 by 4th term. And when we are doing the next, that is, one second. Okay, so when we are doing or calculating Q3, there again we will have to calculate Q3 to be 3 into n plus 1 by fourth term. Then for the continuous series, you will first find the size of Q3 and Q1. Then you have to go with interpolation formula and then find Q3 and Q1. So first identify which type of series are you solving the problem. Is it individual series, discrete series, or continuous series? And then after that, you're supposed to solve the problem accordingly. And be careful in calculating Q3 and Q1. And it is not n plus 1 by 2, it is n plus 1 by 4. That is quartile deviation. Next, going on to the third measure of dispersion, that is mean deviation. Now in mean deviation, very carefully observe, only in mean deviation we have something called modulus. Now these two lines, if I write like two parallel lines, if I write, that is called modulus. Now in modulus we do not consider the sign. Okay, so if you get minus also, it is not considered. If you get plus also, it is not considered. None of the signs are considered. Modulus number means only number is what is required for us to do the calculation. So in individual observation, the mean deviation formula goes like this: summation modulus d divided by n. Now no other place we are going to ignore the signs. Only in mean deviation we have to ignore the sign. Okay, so summation modulus d by n. So that is the formula for individual series. Now how do we find modulus d? Now coming to modulus d, we can find them by x minus x bar, but that also is supposed to be modulus in nature. Okay, so x minus x bar is nothing but we are finding the deviations. So you're supposed to find the arithmetic mean, okay, x bar, and then you have to find the deviations from the x bar. So that is called as modulus d. Suppose if you are taking mean deviation from median, in that scenario you have to take the deviations from median for you to get summation modulus d by n. That is for individual series. Next, you have discrete series. Now in discrete series, you will have frequency. So you will be just adding f in the place in between summation and modulus d. So summation f modulus d by n is the formula for discrete series. And again here modulus d is nothing but what? It is nothing but the deviations that we take from x minus x bar or x minus median. Next, going on to continuous series. Now in continuous series, the formula remains same. For discrete and continuous series, the formula remains same. The only thing you have to notice the deviations which has been calculated. So deviations is x minus x bar or x minus median. Okay, so that is the first three measures of dispersion. Again I am repeating, in mean deviation we do not consider the signs, because while we are taking the deviations here, we are considering the modulus. So if you consider modulus, you're supposed to ignore the signs, and it happens only with mean deviation and not anything else. Okay, so that is the first three measures of dispersion. So clear with first three measures of dispersion? Now going on further, we understood the mean deviation absolute measure, but we are also supposed to understand mean deviation coefficients, that is the relative measure. So here is the relative measure, that is coefficient of mean deviation. Now coefficient of mean deviation first thing you have to understand is mean deviation can be derived from arithmetic mean, it can be derived from median, and it can also be derived from mode. Okay, but majorly preferred are arithmetic mean and median. Mode you will not be able to find always, because mode is usually ill defined. Now you would have seen this question a lot of times in the question paper. Mode is ill defined in 2 marks. Okay, how or when is the mode ill defined? Now when you don't have a specific highest frequency. Now suppose if you take a data, let's say x and f. Okay, so x is 1 2 3 4 5, and f is, let's say, 6 7 8 9 and 10. Fine. So what are we saying here? Here the highest value is 10, no doubt. But if you see the difference between the highest and the next highest, they are very nearby. Okay, so you cannot clearly say the mode value is 5 and the highest frequency is 10. So in this scenario, it is known as mode is ill defined, and we will be solving the mode using the other type of calculation, that is your table calculations. Grouping and analysis table, if you remember, we are supposed to use that grouping and analysis table and then do the calculation of mode to find the exact or the actual mode. Now if the same frequency, let's say for example, just forget this frequency, if the same frequency for this x, if it was 2 3 4 15 and then 7. Now if you see here, 15 is the highest frequency and the next highest frequency is 7. There is lot of difference between 15 and 7. So it clearly says 4 is the mode since 15 is the highest frequency. It is very, very evident here. So in this case, the mode is well defined. It is properly defined. But in the first case which we saw here, there was very small difference between the frequency, that is the highest, and the next highest value. In that case, mode is ill defined. Okay, mode is ill defined. So in mean deviation, for to calculate its coefficient, if the mean deviation is calculated through arithmetic mean, then the formula will be mean deviation divided by x bar, that is arithmetic mean. Then mean deviation by median, mean deviation by mode. So these are the coefficients of mean deviation to be found. Then in mean deviation, we also used certain shortcut method. Now, if you see the first formula which we saw above, now in that formula, what will happen? We have to first find out the arithmetic mean, then you have to take the deviations from arithmetic mean, and then you have to multiply it with the frequency, and then only you will be able to apply it into the formula. So there is lot of steps that is being involved. So there is another shortcut for the mean deviation calculations. So let us see that shortcut. Now, in the shortcut of mean deviation, if it is an individual series, okay, if we are talking about individual series, then in this individual series, how do we calculate mean deviation? So we will be having x, okay, and we'll also have we will have a data with x. Okay, so we are supposed to divide the x into 2 parts: before arithmetic mean or median, after arithmetic mean or median. Suppose our x bar is, let's take for example, we have x numbers to be 1 2 3 4 5 6. Okay, now here 6, okay, let's take until 10, 7 8 9 and 10. Now if you are supposed to find x bar for this, suppose let's say the x bar is 5, just for example. Okay, suppose the x bar is 5. Now what you're supposed to do is you have to divide the data from here. Okay, I'll just choose another color. So you have to divide the data from here. So this will be A and this will be B. Okay, so this is the arithmetic mean. So data after arithmetic mean and before arithmetic mean. So we are dividing the data. So that is A and B. Fine. So that is summation of, then you will have to multiply x into a and x into b and all that. Then you will get summation xa xb minus summation a and b. So this is a, you have to add all these numbers, and b you have to add all these numbers, then multiply it with x bar or median. Now if you have x bar with you, that is if you have calculated arithmetic mean, then go on with the arithmetic mean. If you have calculated median here, in place of arithmetic mean, if you have calculated median, then multiply the median. Divided by n, n is number of data. Okay. Now similarly for discrete and continuous series, for both discrete as well as continuous series, you will have to again divide the data into A and B, and then you will have to multiply that with the frequency. Okay, x into a first and then with the frequency. Now then summation fxa minus summation fxb is equal to summation fa minus summation fb into arithmetic mean or median, whichever you have calculated, that should be multiplied divided by n. Okay, so this is the shortcut method of mean deviation. Now in mean deviation, what all did we see? We saw the actual calculation of mean deviation for individual series, discrete series and continuous series. That was absolute measure. Coming to relative measure, we saw the coefficient of mean deviation when it is taken from mean, median and mode. Then we also have a shortcut method for mean deviation, that is individual series, one formula, discrete and continuous series, another formula. Okay, so that is completely your mean deviation. Any doubts in the mean deviation? Okay, so now after mean deviation, if we go back to our table, see we have completed range, quartile deviation and mean deviation. Now let us go further, that is the last measure of dispersion, that is standard deviation. Now in standard deviation, let us see how the standard deviation is calculated. Now in standard deviation, you have two methods. Okay, basically two methods are there. One is actual mean method, another one is assumed mean method. Now in actual mean method, how do we solve, and assumed mean method, how do we solve? Let us see. Now in actual mean method, for the first individual observation, how do we find standard deviation is using this formula, that is sigma is equal to square root of summation x square by n. Now this x is not the direct x that you see in the problem, but this small x is the deviation. Now how do you find the deviation? X minus x bar. If you see, this is a small x and inside you have big capital X that has been utilized. So square root of sigma x square by n. The problem or the mistake that the students does is, in standard deviation, they will think this x square is the normal data and they will calculate where their answer will go wrong. So this small x is the deviation which you are supposed to calculate. So that is under actual mean. Now if you see here, we have taken arithmetic mean or x bar directly. So that is why it is actual mean method. Now for the same individual observation, if you are supposed to go with assumed mean method, then out of the x data, whatever is given to you, now in the problem if they give you x, in that x you are supposed to take the assumed mean. Over and again I am reminding everybody, please do not consider assumed mean from frequency. That is wrong. You have to consider assumed mean only from the x. Okay, so x minus assumed mean, that will be your deviations. Once you find the deviations, you're supposed to square the deviations once you find them. So the formula for assumed mean method goes like this. Standard deviation is equal to square root of summation d square by n minus summation d by n whole square. Okay, so under assumed mean, this is the formula which we will consider. Okay, so this is individual observations. Now going on further to the discrete and continuous series. In discrete and continuous series, there are three methods. First one is actual mean method, next is assumed mean method, and we have an extra method, that is step deviation method. Okay, so let us see here. So first, for discrete series and continuous series, if it is actual mean, if it is actual mean method, then how you're supposed to do it. Now in actual mean method, the formula will be some square root of summation fx square by n. Again, this is a small x, which means you're supposed to take the deviations. So x minus x bar will be the deviations of the small x. That is discrete series. When it comes to continuous series, you will have class intervals to consider. So you cannot take the deviations from class intervals. So find the midpoint. So m minus x bar is nothing but midpoint minus x bar. Hope everybody is able to follow that. So this is for discrete series, where you'll have x as the data and then you take the deviations from actual mean. Now in the place of x in continuous series, you will have m, because from the class intervals we will be finding out the midpoint, and that will be considered as x. So it's m minus x bar. So this is from actual mean. Now going on to assumed mean, the formula more or same remains the same, just that the frequency is supposed to be multiplied. Okay, so if you see the formula here, from first to the second, it almost remains same, except that frequency is multiplied in both the places. So sigma is equal to square root of sigma is equal to square root of summation fd square by n minus summation fd by n whole square. Now here again, d is nothing but deviation x minus a or m minus a. Okay, so x minus a is for discrete series, m minus a is for continuous series. Then the last method under the standard deviation is step deviation method. Now in step deviation method, you have a little different formula for individual series and discrete and continuous series. Now for individual series, you are supposed to find the deviation, but it is a step deviation, extra deviation you're finding out. So in that case, the d dash, okay, this is called d dash is equal to x minus a. We are taking from assumed mean only. Okay, x minus a divided by I. The I is the common value, and this step deviation method of standard deviation can only be found if the data is equally distributed. Okay, equally distributed means it should have same gap between the numbers. Now for example, if I take a data with 100, 200, 300, 400, 500. Now here if you see, everywhere there is 100 difference. But if I take a data 100, then I take 300, then I take again 400, then 600. Now if you see, there is no equal gap between the data. In such data, okay, in such data, I cannot find out step deviation, standard deviation. This cannot be followed here. Only if the data has same gap or same difference between the numbers, then only you will be able to apply step deviation method. Okay, so here in step deviation method, individual series, the formula goes like this: standard deviation is equal to square root of sigma d dash square. Once you find d dash, then you have to square it. So d dash square by n minus summation d dash by n whole square into I. I is the common value. So this is for individual series. When it comes to discrete and continuous series, just a frequency is supposed to be multiplied in these both places. So your formula will become summation square root of, standard deviation is equal to square root of summation fd dash square by n minus fd dash by n whole square. So that will be the complete formula. Okay, and here d dash for continuous and discrete series is m minus a by I. Here you had x, here you have m. M is nothing but, again you'll have the midpoint. So these are the major 4 types or the 4 measures of dispersion that we are supposed to understand. Now in this chapter, apart from measures of dispersion, you have a little part of variance and covariance, which we also learned it. Okay, now let us see what is that variance and covariance in the last part. So that completes our measures of dispersion. Now let us just go through few problems that we have already solved. Okay, now measures of dispersion. Now in measures of dispersion, we saw the definition of measures of dispersion. Okay, so once we saw the definition, then we saw what is absolute and relative measure of dispersion. That is also completed. Then we saw what is range. Again, you have largest and smallest value and coefficient of range. Then we saw a few problems where the data is given. Find the largest number and the smallest number, subtract them. So that will be your range. Now range in discrete series also, just see the x where the largest number is and smallest number is, and find the range. And then we saw in the continuous series also, find the largest number 170, smallest number 110, and find the difference. Then uses and merits, demerits of range also we went through. Then coming to quartile deviations, here you have interquartile range Q3 minus Q1. So be careful in calculation of Q3 and Q1. So that is n plus 1 by 4 for Q1 in individual series. Now if you go on to the discrete series also, the formula remains same, n plus 1 by 4, 3n plus 1 by 4. But when you go to continuous series, in that case, you will have to be careful. And one more big blunder mistake students do is, you will have to check properly the cumulative frequency. Okay, now in this problem, if you take for example, we are finding out Q1. Now here Q1, we have found cumulative frequency. Now cumulative frequency, yeah, okay, fine. I understand. I've already given a test on range and quartile deviation. That's fine. So we'll do it once again. There's no problem. Okay. So cumulative frequency here, that is when I realized many of them have made the mistake. So many of them took 19 as Q1 instead of X value. Please don't do that mistake once again. Okay, so 19 is just a cumulative frequency for you to understand or for you to realize that 30 is the Q1. Similarly for Q3 also, 61 is not Q3, but the corresponding X value 50 will be the Q3. Okay, so that is your quartile deviation. Now going on further, when we saw mean deviation is where I see many of them might get confused because of the modulus D. So be careful with modulus D, and please understand and realize from where are you calculating the mean deviation. Are you calculating mean deviation from mean, median, or mode? And mode, we have solved only one problem. For us in syllabus, basic attention is given on mean and median. Okay, so that is your mean deviation, and we have solved enough problems. This is the same class notes which I am referring for you. Okay, where we have solved all the problems. Okay, then one more thing for you to understand is, if you have an open-end distribution, then median is the best average to calculate mean deviation. Okay, if you have a open-end class distribution like less than and more than and all, go with the median as the median, go with the median average to calculate the mean deviation. Okay, so this is your complete quartile deviation and mean deviation and standard deviation. So your chapter of measures of dispersion. Now let us quickly see what is measures of skewness. Now measures of skewness is nothing but here you will be able to understand in which direction did the data go. Is the direction of the data towards right or left? Is it towards positive or negative? All that we will be able to understand. So in skewness, we have two types of coefficients. One is Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. Okay, so here in Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness, you have two formulas to consider. So the first formula is SKP. Okay, skewness. Please remember, SK is skewness, P is Pearson. So SKP is equal to mean minus mode divided by standard deviation. So this is the first formula. You have to apply this first formula only, but subject to condition, you have another formula. Now let us see what is the other formula. If mode is absent, if you're able to find mode using empirical formula, it is good. But if mode is not there at all, then what we will be doing, let us see that. Okay, so if mode you're not able to find at all, then in that case you cannot use this formula. So we have derived 3 into x bar minus median divided by standard deviation. Okay, so if mode is not given, then use 3 into x bar minus median by standard deviation. If not, you have to use the first formula, mean minus mode by standard deviation. So that is your Karl Pearson's coefficient of skewness. And we have one more person who has given the coefficient of skewness, that is Bowley. Okay, so Bowley's coefficient of skewness, he is talking about equal distance between Q1 and Q3. Now suppose if you have Q1 and Q3, okay, this is the data range. If you have Q1 here and this is the central value and this is the Q3, so Bowley is saying there is a equal distance between Q1 to the central value and Q3 to the central value. The central value is nothing but median average. Now in such scenario, what will happen? We have to use this formula of Bowley, that is SKB. Again understand, SK is skewness, B is Bowley. Okay, SK is skewness, B is Bowley. So Bowley's coefficient of skewness is nothing but Q3 plus Q1 minus 2 median by Q3 minus Q1. So you have to calculate Q3, Q1 and median. So which means you're supposed to calculate all the three for the data and then apply this formula. So this is your actual coefficient of skewness. And then the last part is you have to find the coefficient of variation. How much is the data varying? There are a lot of problems on calculation of dispersion, how variable the data is. You have to find the skewness of the data. There are a lot of problems in the question paper and it is compulsorily asked in every examination. Okay, now a few questions are there where you have to find CV also. Okay, coefficient of variation, the formula is very simple. Find arithmetic mean, find standard deviation, divide both of them and then multiply by 100. So coefficient of variation is nothing but standard deviation by x bar into 100. Okay, and then you have variance. Here variance is a another measure along with the standard deviation. So variance is nothing but standard deviation square, or standard deviation if you want to find out, please find the square root of variance. Okay, so this formula also you're supposed to remember. So part of skewness is the syllabus is relatively very less, where you will be able to solve few problems. But dispersion, we have major 4 measures of dispersion which you have to remember and also understand each and every formula there. Okay, and please analyze the question where which formula is supposed to be put, or where which formula is supposed to be used to do the problem. Okay, so this is your complete chapter of measures of dispersion and measures of skewness. Now, if you see measures of skewness, again here, just going through whatever we did in the class. Now, if your data is exactly lying in the center here, then we can say there is no skewness. If the data is towards one side, that is left or right side, then we have we can say it as positively skewed or negatively skewed. Okay, so that is the skewness. And there are many measures of skewness where which we saw exactly was Carl Pearson's coefficient of skewness and Bowley's coefficient of skewness. Okay, so any doubts until here? Any doubts until here, any part of it? I will be sharing all these PDFs into the group once again today.